I'm Alessandra Barrett, Senior Content Editor for JOC. I'm at our 2016 TPM Conference, and I'm joined by Jeremy Ford, Head of Pricing and Strategy for APM Terminals. Thanks for speaking with me today.
Thanks for having me.
What's APM's strategy for accommodating the larger and larger vessels that are coming online?
The entire terminal operations industry has certainly taken close note of the increase every year in the size of container vessels. When you put some numbers to it, it really is incredible. From 2001 to 2009, we saw about a 2 or 2.5% annual increase, and that number since 2009 is over 15%, and that's certainly a significant change. However, it's not that dissimilar to perhaps what we saw in the airline industry as an example. Airplanes got larger and larger, if done correctly, for many of the same reasons that the ocean carriers increased the size of their vessels. They can get simply a lower slot cost or a lower per person cost in the airline example. In that example, the airports had to adapt, and the terminal operations industry is doing much of the same. Our strategy really focuses around three things. The first is the alliances. The alliances are extremely dynamic, and they're changing almost every day. We're keeping very close eye on that, as many of the terminal operators are. And the complexity really comes where the ocean carriers are not just in multiple vessel sharing agreements or alliances, they're sometimes in multiple agreements across several terminals within the same port complex. So that complexity is something that continues to evolve. In the past, when an alliance changed, that presented a learning curve for the terminal operator. APM Terminals has adjusted its commercial and operational processes in order to be able to adapt no matter what the alliance makeup is, and meet the needs of our customers and their customers, the beneficial cargo owners, or end users as we call them. Secondly, we really have begun to focus on what the up and downstream effects of our decisions are. We cannot make decisions in a vacuum as a terminal operator. We continue to increase the amount of time that we spend with the ocean carriers planning in advance of vessel arrivals, planning with their customers on how to handle their specific segment of the cargo on those vessels, and even getting into some very granular detail with the trucking communities, the railroad providers, distribution centers, to ensure that our plans and our strategies don't conflict with theirs on how to handle the freight. The last part really focuses on capabilities and execution. For us, APM Terminals, we invest in markets that we believe in, and not just for the short term. We invest in those markets and the expertise to maximize those assets. We do that in a manner that's not just for the short term, but a 10, 20, 30-year vision in some instances, depending on the life of the concession agreement. A great example actually is right here in Southern California. Our facility in the Port of Los Angeles, Pier 400, was designed in the mid-1990s and built in the early 2000s. That design was done with the 2015 to 2020 vessel cascade and rail capabilities that we're seeing are required today. Those capabilities have really served us well. It allowed us to partner with the Port of Los Angeles and CMA CGM to make the Benjamin Franklin the first 18,000 TEU vessel to call North America and make APM Terminals the terminal of choice to do that. We continue to make sure that we're ready for the next cascade of vessels, and we've got a significant capital investment program in place and in progress to ensure that we can adapt with the next cascade and our customers' needs and their customers' needs.
So in North America, what market is in the spotlight? What's coming up next?
Mobile for us is certainly something that we're very excited about. Since 2009, the first full year of operations, we've seen over 90% container growth in that terminal. The continued growth of distribution centers, warehousing, and companies that are calling not just Mobile, but the greater Alabama area home continues to show tremendous promise for us.
So what do you have planned there?
Well, currently we're handling 8,500 and 9,000 TEU vessels today. We're very fortunate to have 47 feet or almost 14 meters of water, and we've got approval from the Army Corps of Engineers to go all the way up to 57 feet or almost 17 meters of water. We expect the change from Panamax to Neo-Panamax size vessels coming through the Panama Canal to open up additional markets and routing options for the ocean carriers. We think that'll also provide additional and larger all-water services to and from Asia, as well as to and from the Middle East. What that allows us to do is capitalize on moving cargo that is moving through non-optimal routes or other ports that are adding cost to the supply chain for the beneficial cargo owner to route more naturally through Mobile. In order to be ready for this, we've got a large terminal expansion that is ongoing, and we've partnered with the Alabama State Port Authority and the Canadian National Railroad to begin operations at a new intermodal container transfer facility, or ICTF, which is adjacent to our yard and our APM terminals facility, and that'll open up in May.
Your Lazaro Cardenas terminal opens this year as well. What opportunities are you seeing there?
Well, the plans for Lazaro Cardenas have been something that we've had our eye on for some time. I recall when the U.S. West Coast was heavily overutilized, we were talking about how the U.S. West Coast would run out of capacity and additional gateways needed to be found. And that's really where the thought for Lazaro Cardenas came from. If you fast forward 15, 16 years, and now we're actually ready to open up the facility, it really still is about the Mexico City market. We're excited about that. We've always been excited about that. And the population growth in Mexico City continues to show very, very strong promise for not just now, but 10, 20, 30 years in the future.
Great. Well, thanks for taking time from the conference to speak with me.
Thanks for having me.
I've been speaking with Jeremy Ford, Head of Pricing and Strategy for APM Terminals.